5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Carmageddon 2, Carpocalypse Now. This game was supposed to be brutal, hardcore, metal. And it kinda worked. It was banned in several countries. Let's find out why. Like its role models Twisted Metal and Destruction Derby, or the movies Mad Max and Death Race 2000, starring that Bosnian guy who plays old Gran Turismo games on Twitch.
Yes, sir. Beautiful. Look at how close it was.
This was a game that your parents didn't want you to play when you were 12 years old. It came from a distant time when people who didn't play video games thought that games are for kids or stupid people who don't have anything better to do. So, some things never change. Carmageddon 2 is a, quote, racing game made in 1998 that I have played a lot when I was a little boy and occasionally later in my life when I had nothing better to do. It was developed by a company you probably never heard of and was available for the PC and later for Mac, the PlayStation and Nintendo 64. Stainless Games, Carmageddon's OG dev, tried to reincarnate, pun intended, the series several times, but the new releases never really took off. Although they have pretty good ratings on Steam. Enough with the nostalgia trip. You didn't come here to just hear me ramble about the good old days. Let's start shifting gears and get into the real meat of Carmageddon 2. Oh, and did I mention the exploding cows yet? Starting the game, you only have one car. You can pick one of 3 levels and you get placed on a grid of 6 cars. You are given a limited amount of time on start. During the race, the time can be replenished in 3 ways. Damaging the opponent's cars, disposing of aliens, collecting time bonus pickups. It has never happened to me that an opponent finished the race before me. I'm not even sure if there's a mechanic that counts the opponent's laps. In my understanding, there are only 2 events that make you lose the race: getting wasted or running out of time. Enemies drive very clumsy and crash a lot when rendered on screen and sometimes even off screen. When they are not in render distance, they perform miracles Jesus would be jealous of. Especially if their cars barely hold together, off screen they can have the pace of Mika Häkkinen or Takumi. Similarly to replenishing the timer, there are 3 winning conditions for regular races. Finishing the race. This one should be obvious from the genre, but sorry to spoil the fun, this one by itself is practically impossible without knowing where to collect time bonuses or being a god. 2. Wasting all opponents, you will mostly do that. And 3. Disposing of all the aliens, who really look like humans, if we are really being honest here. You probably will never do that, it's just too many of them. And that might give you a hint why this game has been banned in countries like the United Kingdom and Germany. Only a highly censored version was available for sale under the counter. And in Brazil it was banned completely. But let's cut back to the gameplay. The game is split into 10 stages. In each stage there are 3 levels that you can complete in any order. If you finish them, you unlock the challenge level. After beating the challenge level, you proceed to the next stage. You can only return to the previous stages after beating all 40 levels. Expect to lose the first few games until you figure out the controls and get to know the maps. Losing has no penalties, so don't worry to lose or reset races. You only gain credits when winning. But keep in mind that you lose all credits and any collected or bought permanent power-ups if you don't win. It's as if a lost or aborted run never happened. Winning a race against opponents allows you to purchase their cars, given they were wasted during the race. If you manage to play through the game as a pacifist, you probably won't be able to change your vehicle for a long time, until stage 4 happens. We will cover that later. There are temporary and permanent power-ups that can be collected in the game world. These appear as crates, bins, barrels or floating icons. They always appear in the same spots around the map and can be picked up once for permanent boosts or reappear after a short time for everything else. There are active and passive power-ups, which can be positive, neutral or negative, so more like power downs, am I right? Those separate Carmageddon from your casual racing games where you just race around the track. My personal favorite usable power-ups are the Opponent Repulsificator and Kangaroo on Command. Permanent upgrades can be found in hard-to-reach places or bought anytime during the race by clicking a button. They cost upwards of 50,000 credits each and are shared for all cars in the garage. The car selection is wild. You can pick a tiny bug that fits into almost any corner in the game. A dragster that accelerates like mad but barely makes the corner, or a colossal truck that makes you barely notice collisions with other cars. Car handling hasn't aged very well. It feels clunky, heavy, slippery, floaty, at least playing on the keyboard. But still, those are words you don't want to hear about a driving game. But that didn't bother me much in the early 2000s, as I had no comparison to other games that made driving fun. Most cars tend to oversteer, meaning they lose the back very easily and without warning. What really grinds my gears, get it, is the lack of ability to move the vehicle when you mount an opponent. I understand that it is realistic to not be able to move a vehicle when the wheels don't touch the ground. But here you can't move when the wheels clearly touch a solid object, meaning it is not possible to push away opponents from under you by accelerating. This also applies to alien body parts, scenery objects, or even your own fallen off car parts. When you roll the car or get stuck, you have two options. Tapping the Y key like a maniac, boys will have an advantage here if you know what I mean, and hoping that something budges, no pun intended this time. Or press R, which resets your car to a position where you had firm ground under all four wheels previously for the small price of 1000 credits. But this is not foolproof when you have spent your last 30 seconds in a big pile of vehicles. Here you can either go make a tea and watch how it all plays out, or restart the race. And now I can admit that for the longest time I didn't even know about the first option. So as a kid I sometimes badly abused the Y key on my keyboard when I found some permanent power-ups and didn't want to restart the race. Your car brakes the same way as it does for your opponents. Your advantage is that they can't repair their damage while you can. The control key is bound to the virtual credit card, and while holding down the key, the damage gradually gets repaired. The sound it makes is spot on as well. Very satisfying. Speaking of sound, there is variation in car sounds, although listening to it today won't bring you much pleasure, with one exception. But oh boy, the voiceovers in this game are on another level. Let it be the countdown of each new race,
2, 1, go!
taking a or running out of time. An excited voice tells you what is happening. It reminds me of a similar voice in Grand Theft Auto 2. The voice fits the game perfectly and never gets old. For over 20 years I didn't even know the game had a soundtrack. You can find it on YouTube. There are 3 songs by Saintians, who remind me of Prodigy a lot, and 4 songs by Iron Maiden baby. The game offers 10 unique maps. Here's a list with pictures. You're probably wondering, 40 levels but only 10 maps? Do I have to grind some tracks many times? No, the layouts always change. You never have to race the same track layout twice, which increases the replayability a lot. Some of the maps are put together very well and contain a lot of details, hidden areas or Easter eggs, while some maps have huge open spaces without anything in it and seem rushed. My favorite map as a kid was the Mr. Jolly Fairground. I loved to drive on the roller coaster and was very proud of myself when I could finish the whole ride. The challenges can be a bit unfair for today's standards. Back in the day, it was normal for video games to be difficult and not to hold the player's hands. What I mean is that the challenges have a pretty strict time limit, which cannot be replenished and require some very well executed stunts to pass. Sometimes the stunts have to be repeated multiple times, and the vehicle controls and physics don't really help. This is true for the first few tries at least. I've noticed that after failing a mission 2 or 3 times, I was able to get a better feeling for the speed needed for a certain jump. In addition, the challenges vary in difficulty and contain a few difficulty spikes. Mainly the boss of stage 4 will scare the living out of you if you come unprepared. Consider bringing a diaper. The modding community has done a lot to this game and was active until recently. There are many conversions, vehicles, maps and other add-ons. The last mod on ModDB is from August 23. During my playthrough I have used some car mods. This and this car is not included in the original game and was made by someone else. The cars behave differently and sometimes don't really fit into the game handling wise or hitbox wise, mostly both. Some of them are even clunkier to drive and some have superior handling, making the game a lot easier. In my defense, only after finishing all of it, I have noticed that I have chosen the hardest difficulty for the better part of the game. Have you played this game when you were younger or recently? Or was this completely new for you? Or maybe you have played the other Carmageddon games? Let me know down below. And if you made it all the way here, I would really appreciate if you hit that like button like I hit all the opponents in the video. We have barely scratched the surface. There is hidden trivia, wild conspiracies, Easter eggs and even speedrunning strats left to explore. Want me to dive into those? Let me know in the comments and who knows, you might spot your suggestion in the next video. Special thanks to my childhood partners in crime, Alex and Misha, for introducing me to this game and to my awesome parents for letting a 12-year-old play a game that definitely wasn't age appropriate. Love you guys. Thank you for watching and I hope you have a better day than this guy. See you in the next video.